So welcome everyone. I hope you had a great and sunny day. Before going into the details, I'd like to ask you something. Can anyone tell me who has some coding experience here? Anyone? Coding experience? 1, 2, doing what? What languages, what frameworks? Yeah? Python? R. Okay. You, John? Java? How you found it? Okay, right? It's okay. Cool. This is Codery. Here we do coding. We do a lot of coding. To the point that on the month of July, if you're Meetup users, I'm pretty sure everyone has Meetup here, right? Codery was the most active Meetup group in Europe. Yeah? Thousands of Meetup groups in Europe. Codery was top 1, according to number of new members and number of attendees. Yeah? So it's growing a lot, which is a good thing. Yeah? So we do a lot of coding. But today, instead of doing coding, it's actually the only session where we don't do any coding. If you want to do coding, you're more than invited to join us at any other session. I think tomorrow there is like 35 people on the wait list. But yeah, check the calendar. We've got many events. So what's a bootcamp? So we here essentially, just long story short, we help people with their coding skills until they get a job, until they break into the industry. So we work with people from many different backgrounds, with different expectations, and we work together until they become successful developers. Yeah? It's quite interesting because today we got John or Jonathan? Cool. So we got John who's already joining us on the next cohort. So we already started to work with him. We are not the classic bootcamp where we start working on the first day, we finish on the last day, and good luck. Yeah, we try to make sure there is a personal relationship between the students and the instructors, to the point that you believe that was a great experience. So, how do we do all these things? Well, probably it's hard to see the screen, but yeah, I'll summarize that. So we are project driven. What that means? Maybe you've seen some learning plans where on the week number 1, this is an example. You learn HTML, week number 2, you learn JavaScript, week number 3, you see the idea, right? Technology driven, we don't believe on that. We're project driven. What that means? You start creating apps from the first day. That's the way it works for us, right? Because you go home every single day with the feeling, not a feeling, because it's something you can touch, you can prove that you're building something. Yeah? That's the way you are motivated. The most complicated thing about coding is to stay motivated. Yeah? When things work, that's fantastic. But when you struggle to solve a problem, it's a bit exhausting. Yeah? So we create apps from the very first day. We'll talk a bit more about that later on. What else? That's another important thing about our bootcamp. Has any of you tried our coding platform? Not at all? All right. So let me show you something. I'm the founder of Codery. My name is Ricardo. I have 17 years of professional experience in 4 different countries. And when I created Codery, the way I told people you should trust the way we work here is thanks to our coding platform. So we have an online tool which is completely free. So regardless of whether you don't want to join our bootcamp and we never see each other again, that's fine. You can join the platform and you can practice your coding skills. So let's have a look to the platform. So on the website, you will see a play button on top. So when you click on it, and once you join it, essentially, you get something like that. Yeah? This is training. Do you know Code Wars? So this is based on the same principles as Code Wars, but it goes way beyond Code Wars, as you will see in a couple of minutes. For now, let's do a bit of training together. I said today we were not going to do any coding, but that was not true at all. We're going to do a bit of coding as well. So look at the stack here: JavaScript, React, UI, Python coming soon. Can anyone tell me why all these things and not SQL Server, jQuery, and C#, for instance?
Currently it's the most popular.
Correct. Correct. What you can see on the screen represents the most popular set of languages in the world. And that's not a coincidence. Remember, we help students to get a job. How do you think it will be easier to get a job? If you learn something that represents 70% of the market, or if you learn something that represents 10% of the job offers? It's about, fundamentals, right? Today, JavaScript and friends are the king of programming. There is nothing more popular than JavaScript. There is nothing more demanded than JavaScript. Yeah? If anyone doesn't really believe me, I can show you some figures from GitHub. Do you know GitHub? GitHub is the Bible of coding. Yeah? 97% of the code in the world is hosted by GitHub. According to GitHub, JavaScript, there are 2.3 million of repositories written in JavaScript. 2.3 million. That's a lot. Python, which is the second, has about 1 million. So that means that JavaScript is more popular than second and third, Python and Java combined. It's insane. JavaScript is the most popular programming language in the world.
Might I ask a question?
Go for it.
I've been looking around the job offers, and actually I saw more PHP for juniors than JavaScript.
All right.
How is that?
Okay, that's something. Yeah. So people from GitHub, they
don't want to learn PHP, but
no, that's fine. I'm more than happy to show you some statistics. So, not repositories. I want to say languages. So JavaScript has been the king for a while. Yeah? To be honest, it hasn't been like that since the first day. Does anyone know when JavaScript was originally created? It was in 1995. That means it's a relatively new language, relatively new. Yeah? It took the creator 2 weeks, 10 days to write the first version of JavaScript. I've been using it since 2002, every single month of my life. So I've seen the trend. I can tell you that in 2002 it wasn't top 1, of course. But I hope you agree that now it's clearly top 1. And if we check some in detail analytics, not available. To be honest, I didn't like the way they showed the results this year, but let me show you the year before. Hopefully, yeah, this is very visual, right? Here you go. You can see where JavaScript is. Yeah. Talking about PHP. PHP is a very old programming language. Yeah. Very old. The majority of the community hate PHP. But it's still there. It's true. It's still there. Yeah. But the main reason why PHP is still there is because of legacy reasons. Legacy. If you created a product 15 years ago using PHP, it's not that simple now to migrate it. Yeah? Even Facebook was created in PHP. Yeah? And now they are doing a huge effort to migrate it to what? Does anyone know? No? No? And what else? Does anyone know which JavaScript library which runs in the front end was created by Facebook? React. That's React, correct. React is arguably the king of the JavaScript libraries. We do React here, we do JavaScript here, we do Node here. We learn what the market demands. Of course, out of 10 offers, 1 may be talking about PHP. And I'll tell you something, most probably they will pay you really good money, even more than JavaScript and React. Can anyone smell why PHP developers are so well considered? Second? No one wants to do PHP. So if you have software with PHP, yeah, it's very hard to find a developer who wanted to get involved. It's legacy. Yeah. On top of that, it's not only about the technology itself. It's about the nature of the product. If your product was created 15 years ago, that means that most probably there will be lots of developers contributing on it, different styles, lots of bugs. Exhausting to work with that, right? So I, of course, wouldn't recommend anyone to learn PHP today. All right, so let's do quickly a bit of training. We got JavaScript, React. We are adding Python next month. We're adding Java and Ruby in October as well. So this platform is growing a lot to the point that we got more than 8,000 developers on it. So for instance, let's do something very basic about JavaScript. Look, on the left-hand side, on top, we got a problem. We are expecting you to create a function with JavaScript, get welcome message. So whenever we invoke that function, it should return welcome to JavaScript. If that sounds like Chinese because you've never done JavaScript, we give you some resources, some video tutorials, yeah, to explicitly talk about that problem. The majority of our students have no coding experience, yeah, and most of them manage to get a job after the bootcamp. So don't think this is too complicated. I'm sure it's not complicated for anyone. Right, so on the right-hand side, we got the function. This is what we trained during the bootcamp, yeah? But just to give you an idea, look, return, welcome to JavaScript. That's probably the most simplistic piece of code you can write in JavaScript. And now I got a question for you guys. Do you think the code on the right-hand side satisfies the expectation on the left or not? Is the orange text the same in both sides? Correct. The exclamation point or exclamation mark is missing. What that means? That means if I evaluate it, it fails. It fails. You're right. And once we notice the typo, and we add the exclamation mark, let's run it again. Look at the screen, guys. Confetti time. Everyone loves confetti, right? So we have created this tool. So we try to focus a lot on the user experience to make sure it's appealing for entry-level developers. However, if you pay attention to details, look, missing semicolon. According to the standards, during the bootcamp, we learn standards from the very first day by accident. That's actually one of the reasons why I can show you emails from employers saying, we don't know what you do in your bootcamp, but your students are well more prepared than other bootcamps. Because by accident, you learn that you should have semicolons. Yeah? Does anyone know who decides these standards? Styling standards, actually? That's a bit special, because I'm sure no one is expecting that. That's Airbnb. You know Airbnb? When you want to go on holiday to Ibiza, to go party and have Jaeger bombs, yeah? So these guys decide the future of the styling, yeah? It goes beyond the scope of the session why they managed to do that. But this is one of the curiosities, yeah, when talking about coding culture. Anyway, why Airbnb? So there are many different ways of coding, right? Assuming the code is correct, this code was correct, hey, it's green, all good, fantastic, it works, right? There are many different ways to solve the same problem. Fair enough. Because of that, the industry tends to normalize different styling, because otherwise it's very difficult to coordinate with each other, right? What happens if you have an opinion, if I have an opinion, which way is better? That's controversial. Both algorithms work, right? So there are some companies that try to standardize the styling. I'm talking about semicolons, indentation, empty lines, comments, styling, yeah? Companies like Google, many years ago, they created a very long document establishing what, under their point of view, is the best way of coding. Yeah? And again, this is still very popular, don't get me wrong, blah, blah, blah. However, that document was huge. That means that no one really read it end to end. So what was the value of a standard if no one is able to follow it, yeah, completely? Airbnb, a few years later, they say, no, wait a minute. Even if the standard is very precise, even if it's optimum, blah, 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 in reality, if no one can use it effectively, there is no point. Let's create a new standard, a simplified version, where we simplify the way of coding. And that's why Airbnb style guide became so popular, not only about JavaScript, also about React. So we use Airbnb way of coding as part of Codery. Right, so you got the idea. We got for every topic, we could be talking about APIs, strings, lists of objects, different aspects of coding, functions, if else, loops, yeah, many different things, from the very fundamentals to the most challenging questions about recursion, complex algorithms, whatever. So you got 5 questions for every topic. I'm going to skip the next ones. Skip. And at the end of the journey, here you get the main difference with code wars. Look, we have a deterministic way to calculate how good developer you are, according to different metrics. Things like the speed, so how long it took you to complete the challenge. Things like standardization, how standard your code is according to Airbnb. We can measure that, of course. We can talk about how many times you went to Google to get help. You get a penalty on the score because you shouldn't need that. So based on multiple metrics, we give you a score, which is pretty bad in that case because I've skipped the majority of the questions. But obviously, I hope that helps you to get an idea. And also, we give you in which position the rank you are. We try to work a bit with some gamification principles, right? This is completely individual. On top of that, we have coding challenges. These sessions are very popular. We've run more than 300. In September, we are running our first international one. You can sign up before it's too late. UK versus Spain. 100 developers here, 100 developers there. Have a big battle, right? And what that means, look, so for instance, this happened this week. And when I mean this week, it was literally yesterday. So these are the students of the current cohort, 14 guys. And look at what happened here. So we can compare the performance of each student. Yeah, that's the way we can track your progress very easily. And at the end of the journey, we can do 2 things. First of all, we can show the results individually, so you can see for each student the average score on that challenge, and also the progression on the ranks, yeah, so you can clearly see how much you are progressing, right? On top of that, now we have a very new thing, which are the team challenges. We set up 3 teams, and then the goal is to succeed as a team, not individually. That's what the industry appreciates, right? And then what? So then we can simply compare the performance of each team and, of course, congratulate the winner and some confetti again, right? So on top of the individual and group challenges, we got the leaderboards, and that's another reason why all the students get a job. If you arrive today before 5:45, probably you've seen a young lady talking to us. So that lady, Anais, she finished the last bootcamp at the end of July. So that was, what, 2 weeks ago, 3? Yeah, she already got a job. Well, she got an offer. She came to have a chat with me if that was a good offer or not, right? But that's a good thing, right? She finished the bootcamp 2-3 weeks ago, and she got an offer already. Why? Because employers can access that chart. Don't forget that working as a developer is a fantastic thing. We can talk later on about money and these things, yeah? It's very impressive how much money a developer can make in London. That's when now everyone starts smiling. Yeah? But the first step, it's complicated. Let's be honest. I will be lying if I will tell you it's very easy to break into the market. It's not. And that's why I'm running this company. Yeah? I was working as a team lead at HSBC in Canary Wharf, building all the new trading apps. And I realized that some of the guys that joined my team, graduates from Bootcamp in London, it's not only about the technical limitation, because of course you're starting your coding journey, you need to learn a lot of things, but I found 2 problems. First of all, the few things they will learn, they were completely unrelated to what they needed. Yeah, we talked about PHP before. We got some guys learning PHP. To me, that's wrong. Things like jQuery. Has anyone heard about jQuery? It's a very old library. Very old library. Yeah? It died in 2011. There is no point of learning jQuery today. It's absolutely pointless. If you accept a single advice from me for the rest of my life, it will be don't trust anyone trying to teach you jQuery. There is no point. Yeah? So that was the first thing. People learning wrong things. And the second thing is paying a lot of money. Yeah? We are not making business by running this bootcamp. So we try to help people. All right, so and as I said, so we how to say that? So let me show you an example. So of course, employers, they got access to that material, so they can see how much each player has progressed, how many times that person has been the player of the day. You can contact, you can send an email, many different things, right? Vivian, she finished a previous cohort and she got the job very easily as well. So that's a good example. And the last thing about the bootcamp, and this is what our some of the students keep motivated, is the Hall of Fame. You can see the best developers of the day, the best developers of the week, the progression, all these things, right? Best developers ever. We got Google employees, we got Facebook employees, almost 8,000 developers already, right? Even statistics by country, right? The best countries, the average score of each country, all these sort of things, many different details, right? So the platform is a very important part of our bootcamp, because that's the way we tell the employers, you can trust that person, because first of all, we've been working with him or with her for 8 weeks. We can validate his or her skills, and on top of that, on top of our thoughts, look, you got all the details. You can see how many times that person has been training, what she's or he's been doing, all these things, right? The industry really appreciates, because once you've been working for 10 years, you don't need any this sort of references, right? Your CV talks about you. But when you try to break into the market, how do you prove you are any better than other guy learning to code by himself, following online course? It's difficult. It is difficult. That helps a lot. Yeah. So that's our coding platform. And one more thing, I didn't mention that. So we started to collaborate with some charities as well. Yeah. So if you join the Codery Wall, essentially you are contributing to keeping this adventure alive. So we are starting now to collaborate with a company in Germany called Ready School. I think it's the largest bootcamp company in Europe dealing with refugees and privileged people. So we are offering all the platform and everything to them, so they can teach and they can practice with their guys as well, right? Of course. Go for it.
Not that I don't believe in my skills, but let's assume that I'm not there in the top 10, right? That I'm more roughly like in the middle.
Yep.
Do you have like any stats on, like on average, like well, what's the percentage of people who got a job, the ones that how long did it take?
Yeah, I can give you some figures. These figures obviously change from one cohort to the next one, right? But first of all, the first thing to know is not everyone here wants to get a job after the bootcamp. I think it's fair to say, yeah? For instance, I'll give you an example. We got business people who is here because they are working in a startup, so they want to learn coding because the more they know about coding, the better decisions they will take, right? Makes sense. So also we got back to the Hall of Fame, arguably our best player ever, interestingly, doesn't want to get a job, right? So if we check, look, best scores ever doing expert, yeah? It's the same guy on top 6. Yeah? That guy is demigod, is extremely good, right? But he doesn't want to get a job, at least for now. He's at uni, so he wants to continue studying, yeah? Right. So just talking about people who really want to get a job, yeah? So there are two things here. First of all, we have a certification criteria. As you can see, some of the developers, not all of the developers to be honest, but some of them have this sort of blue tick. Let me show you. Yeah, so for instance, you see? Certified player. That means that from our criteria, you are ready to work on the industry because you've accomplished a series of tasks. Yeah. Obviously, we go into details during the bootcamp what the tasks are, but it's important to note something. This list of tasks is created based on the assumption you don't have any coding experience. Yeah? So that means that if you do have coding experience, it's even easier. But if you don't have coding experience, it works. There is a guy called Tom Hodson, this guy at the bottom. So he came to bootcamp last autumn, so it will be 1 year actually, without any coding experience, just after uni. At the beginning, he struggled a lot, but he worked really hard, and at the end of the bootcamp, he got a job, and 6 months later, that means on the 1st of July, so 1 month, he was hired by Sky TV, which arguably is the best company to work in IT in Europe. If you break into Sky TV, your life is sorted. He's working at the Sky TV. Yeah? So, on every cohort, the number of people who wants to get a job changes, right? I can tell you that on average, people takes about 2 months to get a job after the bootcamp. Yeah, but again, that's completely dependent on the person. And that lady, it took 2 weeks. Some people need 3 months. Yeah, something we try to be crystal clear is the main reason why you'll either get a job or not get a job is not technical. I know people, and I respect that because it makes sense, actually, you think about it. People think, all right, let's come here, let's learn a lot, because the more I learn, the easier it will be to get a job. Makes sense, right? And actually, it's true at some extent, but be careful. As I talked with Anais before, she wasn't the best developer of the bootcamp, but she was the first one to get a job. Why? Because the most important asset, the most important skill is attitude, motivation. If you are hired by a company, the only reason why you are hired, or at least the main reason, is because they want to see that you are able to progress. In other words, they're going to invest on you. You're not going to be productive on the first day. You're not going to be productive in the first week. But if you have the right attitude and the right motivation, you'll be productive at some point. Yeah? That's the main thing. Unfortunately, it's fair to say that not everyone has that motivation. Yeah? What sort of motivation are we talking about? I always like to talk about one guy. I think this is probably one of the best examples. It's all on the website, right? So you can check all these details. Yep.
You have to be from Europe. Like if you're not from Europe, how the process of getting a job as a web developer would be? Like employers would obviously prefer someone who lives here, right? Someone
who lives here.
I'm from Mexico, so I'm not legally allowed to work here. So they would have to like be in the process of getting me the work visa. So it's more difficult for them, right?
Well, if you're not eligible for working, yeah, that's a separate problem, right? So you have a tier 4, I think it is, that allows you to study and not to work full time, something like that.
Sorry?
So depending on the visa, yeah, but there is nothing we can do on that, right? So you need to be
For example, if I have a tourist visa,
yeah,
and I go to an employer,
yeah, but legally speaking, they cannot hire you, right? If you have a tourist visa, they cannot hire you. However, I'll tell you something. One of the beautiful things about coding, to me actually, is the best thing. If I have to rank the best things about coding, the best thing is freedom. Yeah? What that means. As I mentioned before, I've been working in 4 different countries. I have friends working in Japan, Riviera Maya, Mexico, many different places, right? Why? Because at the end of the journey, the only thing you need is a laptop and internet. So here we help people with their coding skills, and thankfully the stack we learn is valid all around the world. Yeah, there are subtle exceptions. For instance, if you want to move to China, a few things change. But apart from China, which is a bit special, everywhere else, everywhere in the world, they use that stack, right?
so it would be better to just apply to remote jobs.
Again, that's a legal thing, right? That's a legal thing. We can give you the necessary ability to work. Whether you can work or not, that's a separate thing, right? But we can have a chat later on about that, yeah? Cool. All right, so talking about people getting jobs. So this guy, that's probably the best example possible. He's a former bodyguard looking after celebrities, Lady Gaga, Miley Cyrus in O2 Arena. Yeah? He came here with literally no coding experience, no coding. And I'll tell you something, I'm honest, and if you don't trust me, his profile is public. You can go to the website and you can get some statistics about him. He struggled, naturally speaking, he struggled more than others, but he had something exceptional. The ability to prove how motivated he was. After the bootcamp, he was quite aggressive looking for a job. Yeah? What aggressive means? You know that there are many portals on the internet, right, where you can find jobs and all these things, no problem at all. And that's actually the classic way, the way we recommend students to apply, right? No problem at all. But in his particular case, because he had that ability to be aggressive, not everyone has that ability. So what I recommend him is, okay, fair enough, go to CW Jobs, whatever, apply to the offer, no problem at all. But then, after applying, go to LinkedIn, contact the CTO, contact a senior manager on that company, and send a personal message. My name is Aaron. I'm going to be super honest with you. I'm learning to code, so I'm quite limited, but I'm super excited. I'm loving this. Every day I feel more comfortable with coding. If you give me the opportunity, I love the product. You get the idea, right? After a few attempts, don't remember, it was 4 or 5, 6, in 1.5 months after the bootcamp, so actually he got a job before or below the average, right? So it was for him easier time-wise than for others. One of the companies said, all right, we love that energy, right? So let's do a test, work for us 3 months, and then 11 months later, he's still working on that company. Yeah? So that's to me the best thing. Again, I cannot give you the exact figure about which percent of students get a job, right? It depends. In some cohorts it's 50%, some cohorts is 70%, yeah? At least we can do 2 things. We can be very honest with you. We can tell you exactly what you need. And again, at the end of the day, it's mostly about your attitude. So technically speaking, everyone here is 100%, 150% ready to get a job. No one has ever missed a job opportunity because of the lack of skills. The main reason why people struggle is because of the lack of attitude. Yeah, and obviously I'm not going to give names on that respect, right? I don't think it's fair enough. But on the other way around, another example, talking about attitude, this lady, Alex. So this lady, you know our meetup group, right? We have many events, it's very popular already, more than 5,000 members in 1.5 years. The thing is, on events like tomorrow, we have here about 40 people. Next week, we run an event for 80 people. In October, with Trainline, we run an event with 150 people. We are really well connected to the industry. In one of the meetups we ran a few months ago, Alex was here with me, helping people, you know, not today, but if you are doing some coding, helping with Wi-Fi or basic programming questions, quite basic to be honest, but she was helping. It turned out that one of the attendees was a senior manager of startup. I didn't know. She didn't tell us. But the day after, I got an email, sorry, it wasn't an email, it was a meetup message, to be honest, from her saying, thank you for your event. Out of curiosity, is that lady looking for a job? Because she helped me. I didn't say who I was, right? So, but I really like the way she expressed, the way she helped. So we would like to interview her. So that company based in Woking ended up hiring her. And she's been working there for 6 months. Last month, she's moved somewhere else. Yeah? So once you are in, second job is a piece of cake. So why she got a job? Is it because she was the best developer in the world? No, don't get me wrong. She learned a lot. But the reason why she got a job is because she was on the right place at the right time, proving motivation. That's it. And that's all we need. Yeah, attitude. I know some students, they said, hey, I don't want to get involved on Meetup at all. I don't want to get involved. And I respect that. But at the same time, I think it's my responsibility to let you know how important Meetup events are. It's not because we need your help. Sounds a bit weird, right? But it's not because we are desperate to get help. It's because we believe that this is very beneficial. Yeah, very beneficial. On the 24th of September, we ran an event for 4 or 5 startups. They paid a lot of money to be the startups on the event. Why? Because they want to hire developers. Yeah, if you are there, it's a way to show muscles, to show visibility. Yeah, even if you join a senior challenge and you deal with top developers, and even if you don't win the challenge, just being there, fighting with them, and of course, with much better motivation because now you are learning, that sort of energy, that's the main thing. Yeah, when you work with top developers, everything works fine, but it's not boring, but everything is very plain, every day the same thing, task 1, do it, task 2, do it. Having someone coming there with a lot of energy, that's the key for success. I strongly believe on that. And it's not what I believe, it's what our experience has told us. The better your attitude is, the better. Yeah? All right, so, let's move on quickly. Pizzas are arriving shortly, in about 10 minutes. Actually, that's a good example. That lady, Gin, she left her company to join the bootcamp. On the second day of the bootcamp, the company called her saying, hey, wait a minute, we really appreciate what you're doing on a non-technical side, because she wasn't a developer at all. Our company is looking for developers. Why, instead of looking for a job, you stay with us after the bootcamp? So I think they pay the course. I don't remember that exactly. But the thing is, she got hired by the same company and she's working as a developer, right? Which is a pretty cool thing. All right, so let's quickly, is there anything else here? Yeah, of course, focus and experience. Yeah, we've been working with many big companies. I'm pretty sure you know companies like Oracle, right? It's one of the biggest companies in the world. We ran an event with them 2 weeks ago. They gave a $500 voucher to every attendee for their services. So I think we are really well connected to the industry, which obviously facilitates the process of breaking into the market. Quickly about the syllabus. So again, we mentioned some of the things, so I'll keep that short. We create apps from the very first day. The very first application we built is CodeFlix, which is the combination of Netflix, you know Netflix? Yes, you know Netflix, and Codery. What that means. From the very first day, we learned how to build a simplified version of Netflix, where you get a list of movies, and then you can navigate, you can click on the movie, get the synopsis, you have a menu. You know Netflix, you get the idea, right? So we work on that idea. From the very first day, you'll get access to our private repo, where you can get a lot of detail. It's a step-by-step process that will guide you through the process of creating a professional app. Yeah? And then for every single task, let me click in one of them, you'll get a description, some comments, blah, blah, blah. And on top of that, you'll get access to a dedicated video. It's a short video, maybe 5-10 minutes, that will give you all the details about how to solve the problem. Step-by-step process to help you creating professional apps using the most demanded stack: JavaScript, React, Node, MongoDB, deployment to the cloud, analytics, how many customers do we have, where did it come from, where did it go afterwards. Let's learn how to create an app, right? That's the main focus of the first half of the bootcamp. What else? On the second half of the bootcamp, we'll create team applications. After the first 4 weeks, you'll know how to create apps. On the second half, you'll be assigned to a team, and as part of that team, you'll have a brainstorm session, and you will build something new. You'll have a new app in your portfolio. Yeah? You see the difference. It's not about us giving you the steps about how to proceed. You'll come back to us with a plan, with a strategy. Here we'll reinforce team collaboration, pair programming, code reviews. Yeah? It goes beyond the formal aspect of coding. Yeah? We'll focus on what you need to get a job, how the industry works. And what else? Of course, the platform will run many private and public coding challenges just to make sure everyone has huge muscles at the end of the bootcamp, technically speaking. And finally, preparation for the market. If you want to get a job, we'll do our best to help you. Because again, that's the main issue. It's not about learning to code. There are many different ways to learn coding. is about being ready for the market. That's the complicated part. So we'll help you to prepare the CV, we'll help you to prepare your portfolio, you'll have a nice GitHub account, yeah, all these things, yeah? And of course, networking, we'll invite you, not only during the bootcamp, but also after the bootcamp, you have sort of primary access to our meetups, yeah? Sorry, I'm running out of battery. Yeah, sorry guys, I need to get the charger. We'll finish in 5 minutes. Just need to get the charger. Sorry about that. Plan, the message is you should be ready to start getting a job. It goes without saying. You may not know that January is one of the best months to get a job in London. New year, new budget. Yeah, I get many offers every January. So if you are ready for the market at the end of December, yeah, you're in a really good position. Then we got the online plan. People wanted to join remotely. Back to your question before, we had students from India, from different places. To me, that really makes sense if you are not based in London, but you still want to learn following our methodology. And finally, our evening plan is like a mini bootcamp. Only 2 days a week, 2 evenings, Monday and Thursday. 16 sessions, 2.5 hours each session. This is not going to help you to get a job, I need to be honest. Is pizza okay? You arrived 10 minutes before, but give me 2 minutes and I will do it. Thank you. Last time pizzas arrived 20 minutes late and now 10 minutes earlier, right? We struggle to commit on the timing. Anyway, evening plan, guys, we're finishing. So on the evening plan, again, that makes sense if you want to get a taste for coding. If you're not sure if you see yourself coding in the long term, but you want to experiment without investing a lot, that's the evening plan, yeah? That's pretty much it. You got many details, testimonials, blah, blah, blah. Let me show you something that's important. It's the first time we show that. You may be thinking, is now a good time to join the industry? I think now is the best time. It's not too early, but it's not too late yet. Let me remark yet, right? So now, especially since we have internet, mobile phones, blah, 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 there is a huge shortage of developers, huge. European Union said 900,000 developers needed next year. US, more than 1 million. 9 out of 10 companies struggle to find talent. Companies are desperate. In 2015, I had to change my phone number because of all the calls I received. Yeah? I'm not giving my phone number anymore. I hope everyone has that problem one day. It's a problem, but I think, you agree it's a beautiful problem. Yeah? As a side effect, can anyone tell me what's the average salary of a 5-year experienced JavaScript developer in London? 80 plus, I like that, as a permanent. But what about contracting? So a contractor in London, on average, makes out 500 a day. Yeah? And keeps going up, 6, 7, yeah? It's a lot of money. But to me, the main thing is not the money, it's freedom. Again, once you work a few years making 700 a day, you can do whatever you want in life, right? I hope you agree on that. And again, now is a good time. Don't wait 5-10 years, because I'll tell you something. Does anyone know how many truck drivers are in the US?